Well, good morning, and welcome back to our pilgrimage through the summer with the Institute for Priestly Formation on day 38 of our summer programs here at Creighton University. Today, the seminarians in the 10-week summer program will begin to synthesize the material that they have been receiving in the last 17 days of class. Of course, this class on celibacy and sexuality is really probably one of the more influential classes in all of their entire formation because it goes right at their experience of celibacy, their experience of relating to God from the depths of their hearts. And over the next 2 days, today and tomorrow, they will begin to synthesize, to draw things into closure as the class comes to its conclusion tomorrow morning. Today, the men on the 30-day retreat are on day 5. And again, we would ask that you continue to pray for them and the seminarians as great things are happening in their lives. Last night, I had a great night. It was a night of surprises and a night that kind of popped up unexpectedly. I had the privilege last night of sitting at the feet of 2 wisdom figures here at IPF, 2 people that I really love dearly. A priest and a religious sister who have been in the trenches, you might say, their entire life and have certainly reached that time of their life where they're just filled with wisdom. And I felt like last night I was sitting in a rocking chair with 2 saints, listening to them laugh and tell stories, listen to them speak about their unashamed love for Jesus Christ. And I just felt like I was in heaven last night listening to wisdom. Wisdom is one of those things in our culture that I feel is being lost in the unnatural pace of our Western culture. You know, it used to be that you had many generations living together. You had a father and his son living in close proximity to the grandfather or even the great-grandfather. So many times in rural America or even inside the city, you had sometimes 3 or 4 generations either living in the same house or certainly living on the same block, on the same stretch of land. And so there was a real balance. The father was balanced by the grandfather in the eyes of the son. And I remember that. I don't remember many things of my grandfather, but I remember my 2 grandmothers and my grandfather. And I just remember that there was a mercy and a tenderness that was there. And in the life of my own father and my own mother, I know that they grew up with many generations in close proximity to each other. And they speak of the same thing, that there was a wisdom that was available to them. And I think what's happened in our life is as families live more isolated from each other, as families live more isolated from the place of their upbringing, as they live more isolated from a close proximity to grandparents or great-grandparents, it's easy for us to lose our close proximity to wisdom. And there's a real difference between wisdom and knowledge. Certainly, there's been no other time in the history of civilization, in the history of mankind, where we have access to information like we do now. And the click of a button, you can find out what's happening in the World Cup with the Supreme Court's decision on Hobby Lobby and troops being moved into Iraq. Within 30 seconds, you can read information about all 3 of those things. We have knowledge today. We have facts today. We have information today at our fingertips. But that doesn't mean that we have wisdom. And over the next 3 days, we'll talk about the difference between wisdom and information. And what are the 3 characteristics, the 3, you might say, the personality of wisdom itself. And the first thing that I was reminded of last night and that I think really characterizes wisdom is that wisdom it calls us out of ourself and draws us into something bigger than us, draws us into God. Your knowledge doesn't do that. Just be honest with yourself. How many times have you spent an extended amount of time in front of the internet? Reading page after page, story after story. And how many of those times do you feel lifted up out of yourself into something transcendent, bigger than you? How many times do you leave that experience swimming in the presence of God? Come on, that never happens. How many times have you and I picked up maybe a popular book or maybe a textbook itself? We're swimming through facts, swimming through information. How many times do we close those books somewhat appealed with the pleasure that we had in the reading, but with our brains tired and ready to move on to something else or ready to go to bed? Now, how many times have you been in the presence of someone with wisdom? And in that conversation with that person, you are somehow drawn into something that maybe you don't have the words for, but it's an experience of being drawn into something bigger than yourself. And for a moment, right there, you know, without having the words to describe it, that God is real, that something is bigger than this life on earth. And you're drawn into the transcendent. That's wisdom. Wisdom doesn't stop on the earthly knowing. Wisdom draws us into something bigger than ourselves, into the transcendent. And because of that, when we are in the presence of wisdom, it's refreshing. It doesn't leave us tired. It doesn't leave us looking for something else to refresh us. Like, it in and of itself is refreshing because it whets that part of our soul that was made by the transcendent, that was made by the supernatural, and that longs for a taste and an experience of God. So the first thing that we can know about wisdom is that it doesn't simply leave us understanding or tasting the earthly things, but it draws us into the supernatural. I'm thankful today for the experience in my life of people who have revealed to me wisdom. And I'm thankful today for a God who continues to reach out to us through wisdom figures. Question for you today. When's the last time you called up your grandparents? For those of us who still have our grandparents with them, like, let's take advantage of that. When's the last time you intentionally sought out a person in your life who you know who has wisdom, just for a conversation and just for some relationship with them? Who are the wisdom figures in your life, and when's the last time you told them thank you, that you love them? Over the next couple of days, we'll continue to unpack what is wisdom and why it's important in our life. Let's keep praying for each other. Let's enjoy the journey, enjoy the pilgrimage. God bless you.